The ocean covers over 70% of our planet, and yet it's the least explored place on Earth for centuries. Sailors told chilling tales of monsters rising from the deep, vanishing ships, and glowing lights beneath the waves. But what if those stories weren't just legends? From ancient fears to modern discoveries, here are 5 terrifying and bizarre sea creatures that prove the scariest things are still hiding in the dark. For as long as humans have gazed across the ocean's horizon, we've feared what lies beneath it. Long before we mapped continents or split the atom, ancient sailors stared into the endless blue and saw it not as a place of beauty but of darkness, mystery, and dread. To them, the ocean was a living force, restless, powerful, and full of monsters. Not just figurative ones, but real creatures that thrashed against hulls, vanished ships without a trace, and defied every rule of nature they knew. It was the last uncharted territory. And in the minds of those early explorers, anything could be down there. Gods, serpents, dragons, demons. The ancient Greeks spoke of Scylla and Charybdis. Norse seafarers feared the kraken. Chinese sailors warned of soul-eating sea ghosts. And in every story, one thing was constant: an ocean does not forgive curiosity. But here's what's most terrifying. Behind many of those ancient legends were glimpses of real creatures, beings that were so strange, so grotesque, and so beyond comprehension that myth was the only way to make sense of them today. With submarines and satellites, we've uncovered pieces of those truths. We've captured footage of deep-sea entities with alien jaws, light-producing lures, prehistoric forms, and anatomies so bizarre they seem to defy evolution itself. But in some cases, what we found was far worse than the myth. This is not just a list of odd animals. This is a journey through history's greatest fears, where the boundaries between legend and science dissolved, where 5 of the ocean's most terrifying and bizarre creatures reveal that sometimes the old sailors were right. So dive deep. But beware, what you're about to see isn't fiction, it's real. And it's been waiting for you. The ocean has always been a canvas for human fear. And few creatures have captured that fear more vividly than the kraken. First emerging from the icy waters of Norse legend around the 12th century, the kraken was not just a sea monster, it was a mythic punishment, a test for the bravest of sailors. Ancient texts describe it as a creature so large it could be mistaken for an island. By the time a ship's crew realized their error, it would be too late. Tentacles, each thick as tree trunks, would rise from the sea and crush the vessel into splinters. These tales weren't confined to folklore. During the Age of Sail, from the 16th to 18th centuries, dozens of documented reports emerged from fishermen, naval officers, and merchant seamen. Some claimed to see enormous tentacled beasts grappling with whales. Others watched ships vanish beneath crashing waves following a strange, sudden disturbance. Naturalists of the Enlightenment era were skeptical. Scholars like Carl Linnaeus initially dismissed the kraken as fantasy. They couldn't ignore the physical evidence mounting by the 1800s: mysterious scars on whales, massive sucker marks, and washed-up remains of tentacled creatures. Then, in 1873, a pair of Newfoundland fishermen hauled up the first recognized giant squid tentacle, measuring over 19 feet. Soon, entire carcasses were discovered, and in 2004, Japanese scientists finally captured the first live footage of a giant squid in its natural habitat. What makes the giant squid so terrifying isn't just its size up to 43 feet long, but its alien anatomy: enormous, lidless eyes, a razor-sharp beak, and 2 feeding tentacles that shoot out like harpoons. It is the embodiment of everything we fear in the deep and seen, unknowable, and utterly indifferent to human life. And so the line between myth and reality blurred. The kraken wasn't fiction, it was a fragment of truth seen through the eyes of terrified men on wooden ships. A monster born from the sea and from history's shadow, long before sonar or underwater cameras. Ancient sailors relied on their eyes and their imaginations. So when they glimpsed something sinuous, silver, and massive slithering beneath their boats, stories of sea serpents were born. And at the heart of those tales was one creature. The Oarfish, first described in antiquity by Greek philosopher Posidonius. In the 1st century BCE and later referenced by Roman naturalists, the oarfish's legacy stretched across cultures. Medieval bestiaries spoke of serpent-like beasts that curled around ships. In 16th century Europe, naturalists included sea dragons in their illustrated maps, believing the oceans were infested with horrors. In Japan, oarfish became part of a darker belief, known as Ryagu no Tsukai, or messenger from the sea. God's palace, it was said to rise from the depths as a warning from the gods, a harbinger of earthquakes or tsunamis. And eerily, modern science shows that oarfish have occasionally surfaced before seismic activity, leading some to speculate whether they're sensitive to deep-sea tremors. When seen alive, the oarfish defies logic. It glides vertically or undulates sideways with a slow, almost spectral movement, flashing iridescent hues across its silver ribbon-like body. Its dorsal fin runs the entire length of its form, and red crown-like fins on its head give it a regal, otherworldly appearance. With recorded lengths of up to 36 feet, it's not hard to see why it became the basis for so many legends, despite their size and haunting beauty. Oarfish are rarely seen alive. They dwell in mesopelagic zones, 600 to 3,000 feet below the surface. Most human encounters have occurred when a dying oarfish drifts to shore, disoriented and near death. Unlike the aggressive monsters of legend, the oarfish is harmless, its mouth small, its movements gentle. But to sailors with no frame of reference and no science to explain what they were seeing, it must have seemed like an omen. A living serpent, a god's messenger, or perhaps a sign that the ocean held far darker secrets still to come. If the devil ever designed a shark, it would look like this: the goblin shark, often dubbed the living fossil, has haunted the deep for over 125 million years and change since the time of the dinosaurs. But it wasn't until the late 19th century that humans caught their first real glimpse of this grotesque creature. In 1898, a strange pink-skinned shark was dredged up from the waters off the coast of Japan. With a long, flattened snout, needle-like, teeth, and a jaw that could shoot forward like a spring-loaded trap, it looked less like a real animal and more like a nightmare sketched in madness. Scientists were baffled. Locals whispered it was a sea demon, a creature from the underworld pulled into the light by mistake. The goblin shark's fearsome appearance made it a prime candidate for monstrous sea tales, especially among early 20th century deep-sea explorers, who had no name for what they were witnessing on rare deep dives. In truth, this shark lives in the bathyal zone, dwelling at depths of 332 over 4,000 feet, far below where sunlight reaches. It prefers to remain hidden till pulled from the abyss by accident. What sets the goblin shark apart isn't just its grotesque look, its feeding mechanism unmatched by any predator in the animal kingdom. When prey swims close, its jaws explode forward from its skull, snatching the victim with lightning speed, before retracting like a blade into a sheath. Not just terrifying, it's biomechanical perfection. To ancient cultures, a creature like this would have confirmed fears of hellish sea demons. Today, it stands as a reminder that prehistoric horrors still survive. Lurking just out of sight, immune to extinction, immune to our understanding, the goblin shark is not just real, it's primordial fear. Made flesh and fin, in 1879, a mysterious creature was pulled from the waters near Japan's Suruga Bay. It had a serpentine body, a mouth lined with 300 needle-like teeth, and gill slits that looked like frills from a medieval collar. Scientists had never seen anything like it. Locals had a simpler name for it: sea dragon. The frilled shark is one of the oldest, unchanged predators in the oceanite's ancestry dating back over 80 million years, long before humanity's first footsteps. Some researchers call it a living fossil, but to sailors and superstitious coastal villagers, it was something else entirely. In Japanese folklore, serpentine sea beasts often symbolized chaos or divine punishment, and the frilled shark rare, terrifying, and seemingly appearing from nowhere fit the legend perfectly. Medieval texts from Europe also describe long-bodied fish with dragon-like heads seen near coastal waters during storms. Some historians believe these were misidentified frilled sharks, rarely driven to the surface by illness or water displacement. Their horrific mouths, designed to trap prey in a backward spiral of doom, would have been enough to terrify even the hardiest seafarers. Biologically, the frilled shark is a marvel. It has a cartilage-based skeleton, allowing it to twist like an eel, and it can extend its jaws to swallow prey half its size. Unlike most sharks, it doesn't attack in a burst, ambushes, then slowly constricts its target before consuming it whole. And its gestation period is possibly the longest of any vertebrate, over 3 years. The rarity of sightings has kept this monster wrapped in myth. It's only been filmed alive a handful of times, often in captivity, where it dies quickly and able to survive outside the crushing pressure of the deep sea. In every way, the frilled shark is a ghost from Earth's ancient past, a sea serpent that once swam beneath the dinosaurs and now haunts the deepest trenches of our planet. It doesn't just resemble a dragon. It may very well be the last one left on the darkest depths of the ocean, where sunlight dies and pressure crushes anything ill-equipped to survive. There lurks a creature so alien, so horrifying, that for centuries it seemed like a monster pulled from hell itself. This is the anglerfish, a real-life horror that looks like something dredged from a Lovecraftian nightmare. But its story is as old as seafaring itself, long before science gave it a name. Seafarers from the Mediterranean to the South China Sea told tales of glowing lights drifting in pitch-black waters, phantom flames that lured ships to danger. Sailors swore they saw strange pulsing glows beneath the waves, followed by sudden disappearances of fish, boats, even men. Some believed the sea itself was alive. Others claimed there were creatures beneath the surface that used light as bait, like a witch casting a spell. They were right. It wasn't until the late 19th and early 20th centuries that naturalists discovered the truth. In 1891, the first anglerfish specimen was recovered by the HMS Challenger during a deep-sea trawling expedition. What they hauled up stunned the scientific world. The creature had jagged, translucent teeth, a gaping maw, and most disturbingly, a long fleshy stalk sprouting from its forehead, tipped with a glowing lure. This wasn't just any appendage, it was a bioluminescent beacon, filled with symbiotic bacteria that produced light in the eternal darkness of the deep sea. And that lure, it's a trap. Smaller fish, mesmerized by the glow, swim close only, to be snapped up in milliseconds by the anglerfish's extendable jaws. Its teeth curve inward, ensuring escape is impossible. But the horror doesn't stop there. The female anglerfish, much larger and deadlier than the male lives alone. Males, tiny in comparison, fuse themselves to the female's body, merging their flesh and bloodstreams in a disturbing act of parasitic reproduction. Over time, they lose their eyes, organs, and independence, becoming nothing more than a permanent appendage, reduced to a testicular parasite feeding off the female's bloodstream. For centuries, such a concept would have been unthinkably monster with a built-in mate farmed from her own body. It's only in modern times that deep-sea submersibles have captured live footage of this ghastly process, confirming what was once dismissed as pseudoscience. Even today, the anglerfish remains one of the most elusive and least understood creatures of the deep. Found at depths up to 16,000 feet, its world is one of eternal night, crushing cold and evolutionary desperation. To early civilizations, it would have been a sea witch, a demonic light bearer, or a cursed soul. To modern science, it's a masterpiece of adaptation, grotesque, beautiful, and absolutely terrifying. The anglerfish is proof that truth is stranger and scarier than legend. Since the dawn of human history, the sea has been more than just a place. It has been a boundary between the known and the unknown, between life and death, between myth and reality. For ancient sailors, these terrifying creatures were not just curiosities, they were omens, judgment, or punishment from the gods. A giant squid became the kraken. A drifting oarfish became a sea dragon. And glowing lights in the deep were warnings whispered by drowned spirits. The ocean, in their eyes, was alive, watching, waiting, full of hunger. But here's the most chilling truth. They weren't wrong, because even now, the age of satellites and submarines, we've only explored about 20% of our oceans. The rest, still shrouded in blackness, still hiding creatures that defy biology, logic, and perhaps even sanity. The goblin shark, with its extendable jaws and ghostly flesh, lived for millions of years before we ever knew its name. The frilled shark, unchanged since the time of T-Rex, swims silently through the dark like a prehistoric phantom. And the anglerfish, with its glowing lure and parasitic lovers, teaches us that nature isn't just beautiful. It's mercilessly creative. Every so often, one of these beings surfaces dead on a beach, caught in a net, or captured on a flickering deep-sea camera. And every time, it's a reminder, we are not the masters of this world. We are guests on a planet mostly covered by an alien landscape we don't understand. The legends were born from fear. The fear came from truth. And the truth is this: the ocean still keeps its secrets.